Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 10th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We got the big ridge of high pressure out over the Northeast Pacific Ocean, dominating the weather of the Pacific Northwest. That's going to keep us warm here for the next few days, but we got big changes coming as we go through next week. Stay tuned as we go through the video. You're going to want to see this big cool down coming. So taking a look here at the visible satellite imagery, you can see as we toggle back and forth, look at that marine layer right along the Oregon coastline that is already starting to burn off. A lot of sunshine out there to be had. There's Mount Baker, there's Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, there's Mount Hood, and you can see the higher terrain of British Columbia there here on the GOES 18 satellite imagery this morning as well. Now, heat advisory for much of the Puget Sound includes Everett, Bellingham, Olympia, Centralia, Toledo, Hoquiam, even Forks out there. And we got that excessive heat warning for Yakima off to the eastern portion there as well. And look at Portland, Salem, Eugene are also included in this extreme heat warning. This goes through Tuesday. And as we go through Wednesday, we got big changes coming up here. More on that here in a moment. Now, look at the major heat risk for portions of Southwest Oregon. I mean, look at Grants Pass and Medford by Monday, 107, 106. But if you go out to the coastal areas, you're almost 40 degrees cooler. Brookings, Oregon, for example. But for Grants Pass and Medford, you are going to start that cool down here as we go through the midweek and then probably off into the end of next week and next weekend. You can clearly see colder temperatures, or cooler temperatures, I should say, are on the way. Now, this is Pendleton, Oregon. You can see a lot of extreme heat warnings. Madras out there. You can see it does include the Dalles. There's Goldendale, Sunnyside, Yakima, Ellensburg. Moses Lake, Wenatchee, and Spokane right now are under heat advisory, and those are under the Spokane National Weather Service jurisdiction. Now, why are we so warm? Well, it's because of that ridge I showed you. This lines up very well with the infrared satellite imagery that I showed at the first slide here this morning. And look at that ridge still getting stronger as we go through this afternoon. And by Sunday night, into Monday morning, it's pretty much peaked out there very early Monday morning, but then you see it starts to retrograde back to the west a little bit there, and it starts to eventually weaken as we go through Tuesday morning. That's going to allow this ridge to flatten out, bring that onshore flow back into the region here. Strong marine push will be incoming. We're going to change up the wind pattern. Mother Nature is going to kick the air conditioning back on across the region, and we're going to keep some troughing probably with us as we go on into the end of the week and on towards next week, and mossbacks rejoice for that. The heat's going to become a distant memory as we go towards the end of the week. Now, taking a look at the European model here, let's look at 6-hour precipitation by type. And we're not worried about snowfall at this time of year, but if we scroll off in towards Wednesday, you see some of that coming there for western BC, some of the interior areas, the Rocky Mountains of Alberta and British Columbia as well. But watch what happens as we scroll off in towards Thursday. You see some of that precipitation trying to make its way towards western Washington, some of the Olympic Mountains. As we go on into Thursday night into Friday morning, some of the rainfall returning for portions of western Washington, southwest BC. How far south will that intrude down into western Oregon? All good questions. We'll be watching that over the next few days, but always love seeing these summer frontal systems trying to roll through here because we've been on the skim side, the short side of the precipitation over the last few months, and we really need some of this rainfall. But yeah, as we go through Friday night, you see this trough off the coastline there and some of this unsettled weather with us for the probably the end of the week and on in towards next weekend. Again, we'll worry about that as we get a little bit closer here, but I do like to see that signal. Now, this is at 925 millibars or 2,500 feet. Look at the anticyclone, the high pressure system out there off the coastline, starting to pull that air away from the Pacific Northwest. The offshore flow as we go on in through Sunday and then Monday. We go all the way on into Tuesday, and you still see we have the offshore flow ongoing here still. But as we go through the day Tuesday, we start to shift things up. And look at the northwest winds start to return down the Strait of Georgia. And as we go through Tuesday night, you get the surge down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. It starts to come shoot through the Chehalis Gap. And by the time we're into Wednesday, we've got the full onshore flow going. And look at some of these winds east of the mountains by the time we go towards Wednesday evening up the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon through the gorge there. The winds are going to be ramped up, and Mother Nature's air conditioning will indeed be rolling into much of the region. Now, let's take a look at where we're going here for today and the next couple of days as well, because things are going to be very warm. Here's the daily 2-meter max temperature Sunday, August 10th. Look at Seattle, 85. Some mid and upper 80s for Southwest BC. Look at Vancouver Island, some of the interior valleys there, 93 degrees. But the Willamette Valley kind of really get up towards 100 degrees. And look at Medford at 107. I mean, you're talking about upper 90s for Yakima, some of the Tri-Cities, Boise, into the lower 90s. Spokane, something similar there as well. And you can also see the heat extending up into the Okanagan River Valley cold air conduit in the fall and the winter months. It gets pretty warm in the summertime up there, however. Now, if we look at Monday, another very warm day across the region, then we go to Tuesday, probably the warmest for Seattle, up towards 90 degrees, but that's going to be the last of the very hot days. Upper 90s again for Portland, and you can see Boise 101, Medford another 105-degree day there. But look at Tuesday, big cool down starting to come, especially west of the Cascades. And then by the time we get to Thursday, look at the temperature suppressed across much of the region as Mother Nature just drives this onshore flow back across the Pacific Northwest. And then we go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going to be under the influence of this trough. As you can see, temperatures will definitely be suppressed across much of the area. Now, here's the wet bulb globe temperature. Takes into account things like humidity and where you are in the world. So Portland under region 1. I mean, you could almost argue it could be under region 2, but look at this. We're getting to the extreme and the high values reaching up towards 85 there on the wet bulb globe temperature. Now watch when I go to Rogue Valley. You notice we're higher than 85, but you're only into high. You're like, oh, how can that be? Well, because they have Medford in the wet bulb globe temperature region to 3. So you should be more acclimated to these temperatures going, but you're still in the high category there. Probably peaking on Monday, Tuesday, another very warm day. Then you see the gradual cool down coming. Now, if you look at Spokane in region 1, it's very close to being in region 2, but you can see moderate here over the next 3 days. If you look at Seattle, region 1, you just into the elevated here and then maybe moderate there on Tuesday, the warmest day. Getting up towards 90 degrees can be pretty dramatic for Seattle, but yeah, wet bulb globe temperature takes into account where you are and how you should be acclimated to that. Then you can see the cool down coming thereafter. There's Boise out in Idaho, there, Treasure Valley. You can see that you are in region 2 out there and moderate here, probably the warmest day on Tuesday. Tillamook, the warmest day probably today. Then the gradual cool down starts, and then we really start to drop those temperatures down by the time we get towards Wednesday and thereafter. Now, Hoquiam, right there near the Washington coastline, region 1, and you can see we're dealing with some elevated right there, not quite towards moderate. Same thing for Quileute. Vancouver does not get to play by the same rules because they don't have anything up there. They don't have a wet bulb globe temperature region. It's only for United States. Now, looking at the European, look at the 24-hour 2-meter temperature change from Tuesday to Wednesday. I just froze this right here. Some areas dropping by more than 20 degrees in a 24-hour period. So again, if you're across the backcountry here and you're out camping or hiking or whatnot, remember there are big differences between Tuesday and Wednesday. Don't get caught off guard. You probably need a light jacket at least across some of the lower elevations. Across high elevations, you might even need more of a coat out there, because those winds are going to be kicking up a bit. And it's a big shock to the system here, even though in the winter time, you might be more used to it. But in the summertime, it can still catch people off guard. And here's the GFS as well. Again, the big temperature change ripping across the region as we go from Tuesday to Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the entire region is under the influence of that onshore flow. So looking at the European artificial intelligence, a little bit of a look into the extended forecast now. You can see the ridge, there it is, starts to back up and allows for the onshore flow to return midweek. We stay under the influence of this trough as we go all the way on into this weekend. Hopefully starting to ring out some precipitation here for some places of the Pacific Northwest. Trough hanging out all the way on in towards next week. Ridge really gets cranking there across the middle portions of the country there and tries to move out to the southwest. How much of this trough will be influencing us? Good question. Looking, 10 days out in the forecast, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but not bad for mossbacks here across the Pacific Northwest, keeping a trough nearby. Now, 15-day precipitation anomaly as well. You can kind of see this artificial intelligence has some above average signal there for some of Western Washington, trying to creep down into Oregon and for Southwest BC as well. So I do like to see that. I like to see that signal for precipitation trying to show up here. So hopefully we can get some meaningful rainfall out of that. Because as you see, since January 1st, percent of average precipitation, virtually the entire Pacific Northwest has been significantly below normal, except for some of the Oregon Cascades moving down in Northeast California there. So yeah, that's since January 1st. And this is since May 11th. And again, pretty dramatic below normal signal here, except for some portions of Northwest Montana trying to creep a little bit into the Idaho Panhandle as well, and some of the Southern Oregon Cascades. And this is the average temperature departure from average. Some of Eastern Oregon's been below normal. Some of the Central Oregon Cascades, maybe the Washington coast, Oregon coast, just slightly below normal. But across the interior regions like the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, and some of the straight up here as well, we have been a little bit above normal, actually more than a little bit for the foothills and some of the Cascades as well. And this is since July 1st. And if we take a look at the 6 to 10 day, again, that troughing showing up in the Climate Prediction Center's forecast here and above normal signal there. We'll see how that goes, though. We'll be breaking it down day by day. And yeah, anyway, thanks for checking out this channel. It will be my backup channel for now. And for whatever reason, I have control of the password and everything and the account and everything. I'm just waiting for Google to release it here. Should just be another few days. So I'm very hopeful that I'll get everything back up and running. And if not, I will just make this the permanent channel here and we'll rebuild it from scratch. Very confident that I have, I have a lot of subscribers. My follower base, you guys are very intelligent. I see a lot of great comments on here, and I see a lot of people that are genuinely concerned about the weather here in the Pacific Northwest. So again, this channel is not possible without you guys. Much appreciated. And yeah, that's what keeps me going every single day. I love to share the weather. I love to talk about it. And even though I can't reply to all the comments, I do see every single one of them. I try to click like on them, but sometimes life doesn't allow me to kind of keep up to date with all the comments. But yeah, it helps the algorithm. It helps the word get out to more people in the Pacific Northwest. So again, thanks for that. And also just a reminder, I don't have access to the Patreon page as well. I can post, but I can't really do anything else on there. For whatever reason, there's still a session browser active on one of my on one of my devices, so that I can actually still post there, but I can't really access it. So I'll let you know how all that goes here over the next few days. But anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. Hope you guys like the new channel here. It'll be the permanent backup channel once I get the other ones going, so you'll know where to go if something like this ever happens again. But otherwise, click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.